that seminar. I'll see if I can make it.
It says you're
One
ready to
on,
go.
crisis management. Yep. So on, yeah,
All set.
we're good. Okay. Are we at 5:30?
Yep.
Good evening. It's 5:30 here in beautiful Gates Mills, and thank you all for joining us in person and in your presence for the first council meeting of 2024. My name is Steve Szymborski, and you have elected me recently as your mayor. We have a full agenda today that is printed on the website, and it's also available generally around in the chairs. We'll start the meeting with a few oaths of office of myself, the clerk, and the council people. Then we'll have a roll call and convene the 2024 council for the village. After that, you're welcome to stay as long as you like and go through the meeting. We have a number of administrative offices that we're going to fill and a few meaningful topics at the end with regard to council conversations. So we're going to start this by administering the oaths to the newly elected officials. And Todd Hunt, our law director, will administer the oath to me. And I'd ask my family, who's here, my wife and 3 of my 4 children, to join us up front. And then we'll proceed to do that with Beth DeCapit. All of these were parts of the junior straw hat. Stuart. You want to know what happened to a junior straw hat when they'd grown up? Here's the 4 of them.
Okay. Please raise your right hand. I state your name,
I, Steve Szymborski,
do hereby swear
do hereby swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Charter and ordinances of the Village of Gates Mills,
and the Charter and ordinances of the Village of Gates Mills,
and that I will honestly, faithfully, and impartially
and that I will honestly, faithfully, and impartially
discharge my duties as mayor,
discharge my duties as mayor,
to which I have been elected,
to which I've been elected,
according to law
according to law,
and to the best of my ability.
and to the best of my ability. Good to go. Hello, Beth.
Hello, Steve.
Beth is continuing in her service, but as is the case every 4 years, when you're reelected, you have to make the same promise again in public. So repeat after me. I,
I, Beth DeCapit,
do hereby swear
do hereby swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Charter and ordinances of the Village of Gates Mills,
and the Charter and ordinances of the Village of Gates Mills.
and that I will honestly, faithfully, and impartially
I will honestly, faithfully, and impartially
discharge my duties as clerk,
discharge my duties as clerk,
to which I have been elected,
to which I've been elected,
according to law and the best of my ability.
according to law and to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We have the Scott Broom family.
Well, thank you.
Good evening, by the way.
Yes. This is really junior straw hat.
I, Scott Broom, do hereby swear
I, Scott Broom, do hereby swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Charter and ordinances of the Village of Gates Mills,
and the Charter and ordinances of the Village of Gates Mills.
and that I will honestly, faithfully, and impartially
I will honestly, faithfully, and impartially
discharge my duties as a member of council,
discharge my duties as a member of council,
to which I have been elected,
to which I have been elected,
according to law and the best of my ability.
according to law and the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Help me God.
Sandra, you know this better than any of us.
Except for Sandra Race.
I, Sandra Turner, do hereby swear
Sandra Turner, do hereby swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Charter and ordinances of the Village of Gates Mills,
and the Charter and ordinances of the Village of Gates Mills,
and that I will honestly, faithfully, and impartially
and that I will honestly, faithfully, and impartially
discharge my duties as a member of council
discharge my duties as a member of council
to which I have been elected,
to which I've been elected,
according to law and to the best of my ability.
according to law and the best of my abilities.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You should take me up on my offer. We're good to have the Welsh family up here.
Ed and Sarah.
Ed, you've done this probably longer than any of us, so you might be able to memorize this, but we'll use the oath here, okay?
Okay.
I, Ed Walsh, do hereby swear
I, Ed Welch, do hereby swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Charter and ordinances of the Village of Gates Mills,
the Charter and the ordinances of the Village of Gates Mills,
that I will honestly, faithfully, and impartially
that I will honestly, faithfully, and impartially
discharge my duties as a member of council
discharge my duties as a member of council,
to which I have been elected,
which I've been elected,
according to law and to the best of my ability.
according to the law and the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Okay, will the clerk please call roll?
Anton,
Here.
Broom,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Press,
Yes.
Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welsh.
Yes.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the minutes of council meeting December 19th, 2023. The minutes were sent to you in advance. They're rather lengthy. It was a long meeting with a lot of material. I hope you've had a chance to go through those. If there are any questions or comments on the minutes?
Move to approve.
Second.
Anton,
Yes.
Broom,
Abstain.
Deacon,
Yes.
Press, Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welsh.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the pay ordinance number 1281 for $728,000. You may note it's a little larger number than we normally see, but the month of December is the final month of the year and also the year in which we normally pay the large contract bills for the paving and other type road programs. Are there any questions on any item on the pay ordinance?
Move to approve.
Anton,
Yes.
Broom,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Press, Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welsh.
Yes.
Thank you. Next order of business is the financial report for the 12 months ended December 31st, 2023. This was finished last evening and presented on the village website this morning. There also may be copies around. This is the full year, so the report focuses primarily on how 2023 finished up as opposed to the month of December. So here we go. Annual results and financial position were provided to the mayor, the clerk, and council in advance of the January council meeting, as is good governance. As to the general fund, our revenue for the year was $6,301,000, $150,000 ahead of budget, and $150,000 less than last year. The largest revenue sources are real estate taxes and municipal income taxes. Tax amounts are received by the village based on collections by the taxing agencies, in this case, Cuyahoga County and Rita. The village is dependent on the timing of those agencies' billing and collection efforts and on the timing of taxpayer remittances. Real estate taxes, receipts worth $2.2 million slightly ahead of the prior year on budget by $52,000. Real estate taxes are the village's most predictable source of revenue. Municipal income tax revenue was $2,295,000. We have been reporting throughout '23 that such receipts were less than the budget of $2,006,000 and less than '22's amount of $3,001,000. Income tax revenues seem to have returned to a more predictable level. Revenues in 20, 21, and 22 were hard to predict due to the effects of a large few tax payments from taxpayers, COVID, and the work from home shift of where earners paid municipal income taxes based on their workplace. In '23, the village started to operate the traffic camera enforcement program in combination with the Lyndhurst Municipal Court and the vendor. The program started in mid-August. Gross collections appear on the financial statements in the revenue category, while expenses to court, the Lyndhurst Court, and to GATSO appear in the police expenditure category. Since inception, the village has received $596,000 and remitted $381,000 to Lyndhurst and GATSO. The net collection to the village for these 4 months was $215,000. The village had budgeted $200,000 for '23. Other sources of revenue, excluding the traffic cameras, was $854,000, equal to budget of last year's $853,000 and ahead of '22 by $66,000. We were fortunate to achieve higher receipts in most categories, such as interest, rental income, and the Mills building income. Miscellaneous income was down as we had not received by year-end the reimbursement from Cuyahoga County for the materials portion of the road program that they reimburse us for. We'll expect this payment in the first quarter of 2024. As to expenditures, overall for the village, $6,532,000 compared to $6,005,000 in '22 and $6,001,000 budgeted for '23. The expenditures are budgeted and controlled through the 4 departments that we operate: administration, police, fire, and service, and transfers from the general fund to other specific funds, such as for the capital improvement fund. The administrative department incurred $793,000 in '23, essentially the same as '22's amount of $792,000. Personnel costs came in slightly below budget, and we saved $35,000 on our insurance costs. Legal and professional fees were over budget by $100,000 due to 5 quarters of invoices rather than 4, which was occasioned by switching law firms, more legal matters, using a broadband consulting firm, and other services. The police department incurred $380,000 associated with the traffic camera program. Excluding those costs so that we can discuss comparability, the actual expenditures were $1,760,000. We had budgeted $1,826,000, so the department was $66,000 under budget, essentially in operating costs such as gas, training, and fees. We maintained the same level of police force, and we awarded competitive wage increases for '23. The department operated efficiently and within budget. The fire department was extremely busy in 2023, based on a higher number of calls for EMS, up 11%, and fire, up 13%. As a result, we spent more than budgeted and more than the prior year. Operating costs were $699,000 compared to a budget of $653,000. The largest increase was for our outsourced EMS services to Mayfield Village, which cost us $95,000 more in '22. We are pleased to have renewed our contract with Mayfield Village for our ambulance and EMS costs for this year. In the service department, we spent $1,867,000, $35,000 under budget and above the prior year amount of $1,745,000. In addition to the many ongoing service department responsibilities, the department was busy with many more building permits and doubled construction values. In '23, the department issued 97 permits, an increase of 23 or 27% from the prior year. Further, they oversaw or undertook upgrades to the Village Hall, the Mills Building, restrooms in the community center, coffee shop, improvements at Burton Court, and a variety of other projects. Transfers between funds were similar from year to year and were primarily from the general fund to the capital improvement fund. In summary, for the year, the village operated with a general fund shortfall of $231,000, compared to a break-even budget set 12 months ago of $19,000, primarily due to lower income tax receipts and higher fire and EMS costs. We've discussed for several months with council the possibility of completing the 23 year with a shortfall of several $100,000 rather than break even. The general fund cash balance at the end of the year was $7,580,000 compared to the beginning of the year of $7,811,000. The village is required to maintain other special purpose funds by statute or contract. Cash in these funds amounted to $1,964,000 at the end of December. During the year, the Capital Improvement Fund received close to $1 million from the general fund and spent $848,000 for the road program, the emergency repairs on Gates Mills Boulevard, and the Hill Creek culvert repairs. Further, the village was awarded an additional $407,000 this year from the ARPA funds, and those have been earmarked for 24 projects. The report's been published on the village website. If there's any questions, direct them to the treasurer at gatesmillsvillage.com or see me afterwards. Overall, the year turned out about as we expected. We had not known what our income tax revenues would be. We knew that the numbers that we had in 21 and 22 were unusually high due again to work at home and some large payments from a few individuals. We had budgeted conservatively at not those same levels, but the numbers came down a little bit below that. We were able to make that up in a few areas, as you saw. Frankly, a shortfall of $230,000 on a budget of $6.3 million is quite manageable and nothing to be alarmed at. We also, with those extra dollars that we received in the last 2 years, we pretty much kept those dollars in our treasury. And so we're able to afford some shortfalls here and there as they might occur. Again, we run the village for the long-term purposes of its stability and what we want it to be, not necessarily for each year's individual budget. With that, I'll take any questions. Michael.
I've got one, Steve. One thing that surprised me was on the traffic cams. If I did the math right, we're getting, other people are getting more than 60% of the revenue. And we're getting less than a third. Is that because of a lag in receivables or some other kind of lag, or is that just the way it is?
No, it's a wonderful question. When we started the program, we were required to put a $90,000 deposit down with the Lyndhurst Court, as they're paid for every citation issued when it's issued. We don't collect the funds until the drivers pay us. So they are upfronted their monies, and that deposit that we paid came through as an expense.
And
That's
I
why the
would
percentage.
add, there will be a lag.
Yeah.
Just based on billings from the court, GATSO, when those citations come into the village. So I did that same calculation in December and the numbers don't.
When we get to steady state, what is the split for the village, GATSO, and the court?
The
Ballpark.
the court receives the first roughly $15, and the village receives, I believe, the next $10, and then the difference is shared between GATSO and the village, 68%, 32%. Is that correct?
38.62,
What did I say?
68.32.
Oh.
So it's 6
Okay.
percentage points the other way. It's okay.
I was real close, though.
Yeah, it's close enough. Yeah, for sure. But Mike, just the point is there will be a delay. So the numbers on here month to month likely won't match that split just because of the delay in when we're sending money into the court because of the advance. As soon as the tickets are come through, we're sending that money in, and there's a delay in collection, 30 days, 60 days, what have you.
Thank you.
Steve?
Yes, Lori.
Yeah, I'd just like to recognize and thank the various departments for very good operational management. They managed their budgets well despite increased activity, kept service levels up. I think it's quite a successful year, and thank you.
Thank you. And we included some of that operational data. You think, well, the village doesn't change much, right? But when you have twice as many building permits being issued, someone has to do that work. Planning and zoning has to meet, legal documents have to be reviewed, people have to pull blueprints there, and the same is true with fire and everything else. I think you'll hear from Tom, the fire chief, today a little bit about, I've asked him to speak a little bit about the electrical outages and some of the response this weekend of the heavy storms. You start to see, what the men and women are doing kind of behind the numbers, behind the scenes. So Tom will comment a little bit about the electrical outages and the high winds. If there are any other questions on the financial statements, we'll move on. Okay. Item 8 on the agenda are mayoral appointments to administrative offices. These are required to be renewed every year. You have them in front of you. There are no changes. Bob Brightman, Income Tax Administrator, Todd Hunt to my left as Law Director, Mike Cicero, our Prosecutor, Dave Birgert to the right, Service Director, Building Official, and Building Inspector, Trevor Murfello, Service Manager, Janet Mall to my right, Finance Administrator and Assistant Tax Administrator, Greg Minicello, Chief of Police to my right, and Tom Majeski, Fire Chief to my right. And that should be it. So
Move to
Uh,
approve.
thank you, Ed. Second? Thank you, Scott. All-
Eton,
Yes.
Broom,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Press,
Yes.
Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welsh.
Yes.
Okay, next are mayoral appointments to boards, commissions, and committees. These are a little bit different. In some cases, these require council's approval. And some of the commissions serve multi-year terms, unlike a lot of the committees that are just one-year terms. We have over 20 committees, commissions, and boards here in the village, and in doing some governance review the last week or two, probably actually the last month or two, we've got a few more committees and commissions and boards than we need, and there are some that we need that we don't have, and we need a little sharper focus on all of that. So what I've done is, for the ones that we need to have going now, planning and zoning, architectural, and historic review, which meet every month, we're going to ask for your approval of these members as listed on the list here. That doesn't mean the other committees, service, budget, insurance, et cetera, aren't going to get approved. We just aren't going to have those at this meeting until we kind of go through and try to combine a few and create a few new ones lined up with how we see the village operating now. So the Planning and Zoning Commission, for the term ending December 31st, 2024, we are required to have we are recommending Craig Steinbrink as chair of that committee, and Scott Broom, who has been on the committee but would now serve the role as the second council person, be elected for the one-year terms. And we also have four-year terms for Emily Hamilton and Janine Voinovich, whose terms would end December 31st, 2027. We have a motion to approve those appointments.
So moved.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Michael. Any comments or questions?
Do we need another elector member of the P and Z? Because Chip is no longer on the.
That's correct.
Broom, who was an elector, has now become a board representative. So that leaves one elector space.
That's correct. We have one open spot.
Okay, what are we doing about that?
Well, there are a number of people in the village that I think we'd like to consider for some of these other committees and councils. So I wanted to, David, at least get the committee that we all agree on formed and going so we could do this year's business and fill that spot as we all decide.
Fine, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So we had a motion to approve in a second, P and Z.
Yes, Sandra, I think recommended and Michael seconded.
Eton,
Yes.
Broom,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Press,
Yep.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welsh.
Yes.
Okay, the Architectural Board of Review for the term ending December 31st, 2026. This is a little bit different. We are recommending Janet Allwater be reappointed. I've talked to Janet. She's anxious and interested in continuing to serve on the board. Also architects, Bill Childs and Dick Wallach. As you may know, on these two committees, the Architectural Board and Historical Board, we have outside architects who are on those committees to advise the committee members with the technical disciplines of architecture, et cetera. So that's why we have, in some cases, experts on the committees. Can I have a motion to review or to approve the Architectural Board of Review?
So moved. Second.
Eton,
Yes.
Broom,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Press, Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welsh.
Yes.
Okay, and then lastly, the Historical Review Committee, everyone on this committee gets reviewed for 1 year. Sarah Walsh, who's sitting in the back, is the chair. Also proposed are Lori Deacon, Jane Lindmark, Greg Newson, Chuck Spear, also in attendance, and architects Dave Elson, Joe Giglio, and Bill Childs.
Move to approve?
Second.
Eton,
Yes.
Broom,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Press, Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welsh.
Yes.
I gotta just say, we're doing pretty good as a new group, aren't we?
Yes.
Get a lot done in 15 minutes. Okay. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the mayor's report. So I put these notes together and I'll read them and kind of share my sentiments with where we are today and what I'd like the village to kind of focus on going forward. First off, I'm pleased and excited to serve here as mayor of the village. In the last several weeks, I've become more familiar with some of the workings of the village, meeting with the various department heads, running into service department personnel, police officers and others as I spend time at City Hall and walk around. Everyone is excited and willing to help out. I've heard from many villagers with their ideas and support. The coffee shop is literally brewing and beaming with ideas. So if you wonder what's going on in the village, you can stop by there and there's always somebody passing on info. And even sometimes it's accurate. But overall, 2024 is off to a good start. Beyond the isolated idea or two at the coffee shop, we have dozens of recommendations coming from the multi-year comprehensive plan that we need to evaluate and get going. I have later in the agenda some open time for council to discuss how we might want to take those 21 recommendations and areas and tackle those. Our financial situation is solid, as I reviewed with you just a few minutes ago. And we've accumulated close to $400,000 of federal funds through the ARPA grants that will be able to tackle some of our deferred infrastructure projects. What's that do? That just relieves the general fund of having to pay for that. Some of those projects have been around for a dozen years and there just was never the money. And so with that infrastructure money from that we're entitled to and that we were awarded from the county, we're able to tackle the things that you will never see, culverts and road repairs and things that have to get fixed that no one wants to really spend money on. Overall, we'll be able to tackle those, all of those probably in 24, given the weather and such. And that'll be great to see. We'll be resurfacing and restriping the tennis courts this spring into tennis and pickleball courts. We've got some plans perhaps to build some new pickleball courts. That's early in the conversation, but we've got some good information on that. And there's very many other good activities that we could get underway. Importantly, though, I have as a priority the need to work with council members to rebuild the connectivity and the collegiality that we've lost here in the last several years. I think that through collaboration, we can do more and we can do better for our citizens. All of us at this table as elected officials need to be better listeners. We need to be more respectful of others' positions. We need to be transparent and open to ideas. And we need to recreate the trust among us that our elected, our electors expect of us so that we can create the trust and do what's best for the village. I'm confident that we can do that. And my tagline for this year will be something like collaborating with you to move the village forward. I've looked at our governance role and the role of the President Pro Tem and of the many committees, the commissions and boards. All of those are well attended. They all probably served well at the time they were created, but there's a need for some sharper focus. At times, it's not clear who's following up on what and why that person or that committee is doing it. So we're going to shape the committees a little bit differently. We'll create a few new committees, for example, a tree committee, to work with, all the work that we want to do with the Land Conservancy, with the Metro Parks, perhaps with Holden Arboretum, with Ohio Department of Natural Resources on rebuilding the tree canopy. And there may be a few committees that, we can shrink and combine with other committees. We'll do that all over the next several months so that by the end of March, we've got all the committees staffed up and their purpose, is clear. As a final, mayor comment, I want to invite all of you, this Friday to, whether you're in-house here now or watching at home or read about it, to our community center right here. Friday, there will be a once in a lifetime, and if I get this right from Saturday Night Live, not ready for prime time event, for Mayor Karen Schneider. Karen is going to be, completing her 28 years of service. We have been planning for close to 2 months a reception for her. She'll be totally surprised at the content of that, and those guilty people have been sworn to secrecy. Doors open at 5:30. The program starts at 6. Please join us. Again, thank you for choosing me as your mayor. I'm ready to coordinate and to collaborate with you to drive the village forward. And I think it's remarkable that we're going to pretty much be entering our 3rd century. Thank you. Clerk's report.
I would just like to welcome Steve now as our mayor and Scott as a council person. You both have worn different hats in the past, and I look forward to working with both of you, and I'll do my best to collaborate.
Thank you, Beth. We appreciate that, that attitude. I don't believe are there any committee reports? Going forward, we'll have the committee reports a little more, formalized. We'll probably have a few every quarter so that they're not coming in either big lumps or they don't come at all. And, when we reshape the committees, we'll give them dates in which we would like them to issue a report if it's quarterly or semi-annually. Police Department report, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Everybody should have received a copy of my monthly report. I'll be happy to respond to any questions you might have. Just a couple of notes there that everybody can see. We had a couple of unfortunate medical incidents, both resulted in passing of 2 citizens, 1 resident, 1 non-resident. We assisted the fire. I'm not sure the fire chief would want to say anything about that, but one was at a private residence and the other was at the little church in the Vale.
Yeah, I have to just add to that. One was at a funeral service. One of the mourners at the service had a cardiac incident, and there was a immediate response from the police, fire, EMS team, and was able to attend to the person and take him to Hillcrest still alive. The person passed away later. But good commendation for the service department, police and safety forces that responded. So thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Just number 2 there, we're a little over 30 right now. We had some reported deer harvesting from over the weekend. I think we're up to 33. It's a little bit more than we were at last year at this time, but still pretty consistent. And finally, number 3 there, I would say about 40% of our department has gone through the mandatory first aid trainings. Every 2 years, we're required to undergo this training. Chief Majeski was very helpful in coordinating this with us, along with the Hillcrest Hospital emergency management team there. And we have another session coming up here. We had to cancel it and it was rescheduled, and I don't have the exact date yet. So all of our officers will be going through that training.
Any questions for the police? Sandra?
Chief, thank you. Thank you for adding the information about the speed cameras on the back. Interesting information. 1% of the violators are residents. The next bullet about from inception, the most egregious violator percentages are down 4% to 1%, about 75% reduction in top end speeders. I guess I'm a little confused about what that means exactly.
So right now, no motorist has been cited unless they've been driving 60 miles an hour, which is 15 miles over the speed limit.
Okay.
And of those motorists cited, the average speed of those vehicles were 61.
61.
61.5, yes.
I think what might be useful, Chief, would be to have actual numbers. I mean, I'm a little, I'm interested in whether the volume of traffic on Mayfield Road has changed over this period of time compared to the measures we had back in 2019. And I think it would be good to show us the number of citations issued for those going over 65 and in the context of how much traffic is actually traveling along Mayfield Road. And are we getting a feel yet for how many people are actually paying fines?
Yes,
Yeah,
you know, it's not an exact science. What we're seeing right now, and this is right, we have a meeting tomorrow, I should point out, with our county manager. He'll be in town from Arizona, so we'll get updated on that. And we also have a meeting on Friday with the court to introduce the mayor to the judge, if they can know each other and kind of tie up some loose ends. So there's a few things we're still working on. So what we're seeing is within 30 days, we're seeing over 50% payments coming at the first notice. Okay, there's a lot of open citations, but that doesn't mean that people aren't paying them. They could be appealing them, could be a timing thing. You know, there's a lot of factors. Second notices, collection processes, which we'll get into here down the road. So that's normal, we've been told. We're actually slightly higher than what was expected, according to GATSO. So I think we're happy with, you know, where the collection rate is where we're at right now, but we do expect that to go higher.
Good. Yeah, that's very good because we still have to pay the court $15 whether anybody pays or not.
That's
So
correct.
that's great.
That's correct.
Last question, a little facetious. Of the 100 or so violators who lived in the village, how many were cited?
Oh, most of them. I mean, you know,
Most?
believe me, I've got the phone calls to prove it. You know,
Good.
normal, but you know, nothing we can't handle. We've been very transparent about it. There's been some incidents where, you know, just kind of the way it goes. And, you know,
What would-
you hear them out, you explain it to them and whatnot, and they're usually pretty good about it.
What would be the reason for not citing a resident?
Well, not just a resident, I should say. I mean, it could be a person, you know, maybe and we've had cases where, you know, two vehicles have been side by side. You can't exactly point to which we really, unless we're 100% sure that is the vehicle in question, sometimes the license plate's obstructed. Okay, sometimes the flashes are working, and there's a lot of factors that go into what is a citation and when one gets rejected.
But for
So
the camera, aren't they caught on camera?
they are caught on camera, but you may not be able to record the license plate.
I guess what I'm getting at is, are we giving special treatment?
No, we're not giving special treatment. There's been, no,
Non-residents?
no different than when a police officer would stop somebody in the field. Not every we would receive a citation. I mean, but yes, the vast majority absolutely are.
Thank you.
Could I ask a question? Are the police using the AEDs? Have ever been used?
Yes,
So it has been a successful program.
it has. In fact, this last incident here, the mayor just discussed here at the Little Church in the Vale was used.
Okay, because I didn't know if they were carrying them in on those calls or whether they have to go back and get them. And, you know, you have 3 minutes. That's what. Okay.
Okay, thank you, please. Dave, Service Department report, please. Maybe some comments too on the weekend and the high wind volume.
Certainly. You should have received a copy of my monthly report. Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions. We did have the crews. It wasn't too terribly bad. I think there was 3 times the crews had to come in after hours as a result of the downed trees across the road to clean them up. And we did come in twice, I believe, snow or ice related, for a few hours. But all in all, I think it went very smooth and all the equipment seemed to hold up. So we didn't break anything. So that's always a good thing.
So Dave, a lot of trees down over roads? or
No, we
just a
only had
few?
like three spots.
Do you remember where they were?
I think there was one down on Riverview, one in Battles, and I think it was, in Timber Ridge. Yeah.
No.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Quick question, Dave.
Yes.
640 Sugar River Road.
Yes.
Do we have any clue on what's happening there?
I did send a message to him to try and get some update on it. I think the last time we met with him, I think in November, he indicated that in November, the windows were due in. So, but certainly there's been no activity whatsoever.
So has he responded to your,
No, this was just yesterday, so
Okay.
he has not as of yet,
thank you.
so.
Can you make a note and maybe be able to comment at the next council meeting on that one
Absolutely.
specifically?
Yep.
It's been a few
Absolutely.
months. Thank you.
It has.
Dave, can you just comment a bit on the number of permits this year and I mean, it's almost like 2 a week, 97 permits. We think this is kind of a village without a lot of activity and only a half a dozen or so homes being built, but what do we issue all those permits for?
Well, the big
Fences
number
and
is, it's interesting because we were just talking about trees. The big number is we get a lot of generator permits. People putting standby generator units. We get a lot of those. And that was the biggest, I mean, we had 5 new houses for 2023. That was unusual. Usually we're around 2 to 3 is kind of our average. But the generator permits is what really impacted the number. And again, five brand new houses,
Thank you.
certainly.
Any questions for the service department? Building inspector?
That concludes
Okay.
my report.
What do
Thank
you,
you.
one last question. What are you going to do with the overflow of salt? Where are we going to put it?
I'm still hoping, I'm sure there's gonna be storms. I just pray for some storms. I don't know what else to do at this point. So,
Take it home?
yeah, yeah, we're gonna have a lot of salt, so keep our fingers crossed. I'm sure there's more to come.
Are we still using the smart salt program where we only do intersections and curves?
Well, yes and no. I mean, it's all kind of weather and the road base. I mean, the hills, we've got the hills, so you really can't just focus on the intersections. So to a certain extent, yes, but we kind of see what the road's doing and what material holds or doesn't hold. And
If we drop that program, would we take care of the salt?
well, that's not the issue. That's really not the issue with any salt challenge. It's estimating how much we're gonna need for the year prior to winter being here. So that's the challenge. We have to, because we participate in the state salt contract, they typically ask us in June how much they think we're gonna want in December. So that's the challenge. It's not the smart salt use. It's just determining, not knowing what the weather's gonna be, do have enough or not have enough. So, and certainly we never want to not have enough. So that's the challenge. That concludes my
Okay,
report.
thank you. Tom, Fire Chief Department report, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I did submit a written report, and I'd just like to point out on it that the fire department had a total of 207 runs for 2023. Mayfield Village EMS had a total of 224 calls, and that included 9 cancellations. I'd like to thank my fellow firefighters for their efforts over the past weekend. We had 13 calls, including 1 reported structure fire. We had some problem areas that we wanted to continue to monitor, even when we were able to consolidate all of our forces. So we left a firefighter on duty from Saturday morning until Sunday morning. And the firefighter's job was to go out and monitor these different areas to see when we could get them open, if we needed any more resources, so on and so forth. And it did help our call response too when we had the structure fire. I'd also like to thank Dean Hain from First Energy Corporation and First Energy Corporation themselves for the dramatic response that they had to the Village of Gates Mills. At one time, I counted 14 vehicles, which I believe were all, boom trucks, support vehicles and whatnot working. We had 2 really big problem areas, and that was on Chagrin River Road between the river views, Holiday Hill. And the other one on Battles and Timber Ridge, We had actually poles snapped and lines down and things of that nature. I will take any questions that council or mayor may have.
Well, Tom, pass on to your crew, what a great weekend that was, and we appreciate those nights. And these are inhospitable conditions, with people in boom trucks and chainsaws and other kinds of things to keep the roads open, to make sure we can get safety and fire vehicles there if need be. And these are these are all on-call folks. We generally don't staff a fire department here on a weekend like this. There may have been one or two people that were asked to be here, but generally these are people that respond to Tom's call. Any questions for Tom?
Yeah,
David?
sure one. On the list of incidents for last month, interesting one called citizens' complaints overcrowding. That must have been quite a party, huh? I missed it. What was it?
It was Gilmore Academy. They had a swim meet there, invitational.
Okay.
And this is a situation that we've been monitoring through our fire prevention. They've had a few incidents where they've had, hockey, things, swim meets, so on, that tend to be a little bit more overcrowded than they should be. We took the citizen complaint through the police department, actually. Myself and the fire marshal went up there. We took some corrective action, but we also followed up with a meeting with their new safety person and some of the coaching staff, so that in the future, we can have these events set up a little bit better so they don't tend to become overcrowded.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
Just my apology, I misspoke. I think I mentioned earlier the medical emergency, the last medical emergency was at the Little Church of the Vale. It was actually St. Christopher's. So that was my mistake, St. Christopher's.
Okay, Gates Mills, item number 16 of our 21 items. Gates Mills Land Conservancy, report provided. As part of our agreement with them and good governance over the last couple of years, we've agreed that on a semi-annual basis, the Conservancy will report formally to the Gates Mills Council. As you know, the Conservancy Board has 15 members. Council provides and nominates 5 of those, and as one of the governance features is reporting to us as to their activities, et cetera. I talked to the president of that back in December. He provided the report, which is in your packet. It's both a written report on the progress of things that they've been doing, as well as the latest financial report that he sent to us. Nat's available to come speak to council in April. We've checked calendars and he can't make the next few meetings, but we wanted to make sure that council at least had the reports written timely so they could read them and raise questions if that. Sandra Turner is on the board of the Conservancy. If there are questions, perhaps she might want to comment or what have you, but I don't mean to put her on the spot with that. It's Nat's responsibility to report out.
As is Scott.
As is Scott.
We now have 2
Ah,
council members. Any questions?
Quick question. There are 2 mayoral appointment seats on the Land Conservancy. One expired at the end of this year. That's John Kramer. The other one is vacant. So presumably at some point, council has to approve for John Kramer to continue, and we need to appoint another member. Is that your understanding?
Yes.
When will we do that?
We discussed that at the, at one of the last board meetings, and I'm not sure if that was waiting for the new mayor to discuss that with him, but yes, that's going to need to be resolved soon.
if anyone on council has suggestions for who might fit those roles, board member of the Conservancy, send them my way. And we'll,
Or any villager that wants to participate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll look forward to Nat's comments when he meets with us later this year. Okay, number 17, resolution 2023-54, Lori Deacon regarding the reconsulting and the broadband services, please.
Thanks, Steve. So this is second reading. It's a resolution to approve additional consulting from Reed Consulting for procurement of an internet service provider for broadband service. And the contract is attached. If you've had a chance to look at it, there's 5 phases. One would be development of specifications for an RFP, to conduct the bidding process, facilitate scoring, negotiate with respondents, and then also support drafting the contract. I did check with Hunting Valley, and no action was taken at their meeting last week on broadband, so they're apparently still working through with their process. So I think this is a great next step toward, really taking a very, very hard and specific look at getting broadband for the village, so that we are able to provide it to everyone, as opposed to hit or miss, by certain providers who would do it because it's cost effective. Those who are living in areas where it's not cost effective could miss out. So again, I think it's important that we continue to look at this.
So it's on the agenda as a second reading of the 3 readings. In addition, we haven't heard from our neighbors to the south at all, and we've been kind of waiting for them. It may be that if we don't hear, let's say in the next week or 2, we may want to, we'll have a 3rd reading at the next meeting, but we may want to engage Reed Consulting for the first of the 5 pieces of the work, which is developing the scope of what we're looking for. No matter what we do, whether it's with Hunting Valley or any other municipality, we'll need to have in writing what we're looking for. And right now, we don't have that in writing. If that's a cost that's, let's say, less than $10,000, I might go ahead and engage them for that small piece. It's less than what's required, and it certainly isn't the whole $40,000 that their proposal's for. But we would like to keep them involved and keep them moving at a pace, even though it's a slow pace.
I think when we had our meeting with Reed Consulting, when they came and did the presentation, that was really a lot of what our questions were around the specifications for the RFP. So it does seem like a critical, next step to really understand what our needs are and what we would need from an ISP, an internet service provider.
Okay. All right, so this is where I'm going to show my rookiness. So it's a second reading. Do we need any motion, Law Director?
No.
We need to read it.
You have to decide whether to read it or whether not to read it.
Okay, so Lawyer, you need to read the,
Oh, I
Read-
actually need to read it?
well, at least at least the part that's in bold.
Oh, just the header. Okay, Craig's coaching me. Okay. Okay, so the resolution number 2023-54, resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a professional services agreement with Reed Consulting Group for procurement of an internet service provider for village-wide broadband service.
Scott, you had a question.
So I'm a little behind on
Right.
this. So we're looking for the fiber to the premises, because it's in parts of the
Mhm.
village, isn't it? We have fiber optic.
It's in a limited part of the village where AT&T came through, and it was cost effective because of where they were going. And then I believe there's also one neighborhood that did pay for service.
So we're trying to make sure it's village wide, and then are we trying to take it from then the box, then all the way to each house with fiber optic?
Yes, yes,
Eliminate the copper.
yes. And really, I'd be happy to sit down with you because we've,
Do that.
Ann Whitney started this a few years ago. And so Ann's done quite a bit of work. Larry Frankels was on the committee and several others. And so there was a lot of work done. We determined that we really needed a consultant because it's a highly specialized area. And I've got all the information and materials, and I can sit down with you and bring you up to speed. It's complex, for sure.
One thing we've got to contend with is
Mhm.
a normal RFP, you're bidding on something that's sort of a commodity or a service that you can specify very precisely. In this case, at least for Hunting Valley, the offers were quite different. If you look at their finalists, one was Spectrum, which did not involve fiber. One was Ohio Gig, which did, and one was Ohio Lit, which involved them building and operating a system of their own. Those are very different. It's not the situation where there's 10 providers
Right.
and we have to pick the best one of where they're all providing exactly the same thing. So
Yeah.
what
it's
Lori
very
said
much
about
apples and
figuring out
oranges.
what it is we want up front before we think about an RFP makes a lot of sense.
Okay, thank you.
One thing that would be helpful to me, maybe to others, at the next meeting, because it'll be the third reading,
Mhm.
if you consider, and I don't know if it'd be the mayor, you, Lori, who is the broadband committee and who's gonna head this up, so that if we do approve it, which I anticipate or hope we would, that we can move forward with it. I know Ann has been involved in this for a long time. Lori has. We have a new member on council. So, again, I think it would be helpful to know who is going to be working on this.
Okay, we'll make a note and do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did we ever find out what AT&T's intentions were of finishing off wiring the village? Because they've already started.
Can you answer that, Lori? If you can't, I can.
No, you can, yeah. Did you find something out on that,
I mean,
Michael? 'Cause-
basically, Ed, AT&T is willing to wire the village in certain dense neighborhoods where their economics make sense. But they weren't interested I was on the broadband committee at the time we did the first RFP, and AT&T declined to get involved. They thought there was not enough density to make their economics work.
Yeah, so that's the concern, that we don't want to leave some homes behind because of their geography.
No, I understand, yeah.
So it might be that lacking an inducement, AT&T would not be interested in wiring the entire village.
Because they have the library wired now, and of course,
Mhm.
our area where I live is wired.
Right.
Okay,
Well,
anything else on the broadband? David?
no, this is a more general question. Carry on.
Okay. If we can continue with the agenda, the next item is Resolution 2024-01. This is authorizing and directing the transfer of certain sums from the general fund to three funds: the mayor's fund, $1,500, the wastewater fund, $35,000, and the police pension fund, $160,000. As you know, the general fund, from time to time, funds these monies so that special purposes and special things can get done. The mayor's discretionary fund of $1,500 is there for things in my discretion. It might be funeral flowers or a plaque or something like that. I don't know what that will be used for, but it'll be some worthwhile cause, or it won't be used. The wastewater fund of $35,000 will increase the fund balance to $65,000, which is our normal level of maintenance work needed for the wastewater plant. So that essentially gives us money to operate and repair the wastewater plant if need be, or as need be this year. And the police pension fund, we usually spend about $225,000 to contribute to that. The $160,000 gets us about 2/3 of the way there for this year. Again, with absent these appropriations, the clerk would not be able to pay the bills to those different funds. So this is relatively straightforward. We'd ask for your approval. May I have a motion? Scott, thank you.
I'll second.
Just to suspend?
Motion to suspend the rules. Excuse me. Scott?
Were you the second, Mike?
I'll second.
Eton,
Yes.
Broom,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Press, Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welsh.
Yes.
Okay, now a resolution to approve Resolution 2024-01. Thank you, Scott.
Second.
Thank you, Ed.
Eton,
Yes.
Broom,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Press, Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welsh.
Yes.
Okay, that's quite a bit of the formalities of what we had to do today, so I thank you for working with me on all of that. I've got two items under council matters. One is a discussion regarding the comprehensive plan and the next steps. The plan was presented to council last summer. I think at that point, council agreed to receive the plan and took no action on it. It's been available now for, let's just say, 6 months. There are 21 areas of recommendation, and each of those 21 areas have at least a half a dozen individual objectives, and strategies. There's a lot of work to be sorted through there. Recognizing, last year for what it was, you can understand that maybe we didn't get much done on actually acting on the plan, but we now are in 24. We need to get going on some of those elements. So I put together a suggestion of how what might be one way to go forward with evaluating the plan. But this is really for the 7 of you on council to spend a few minutes and discuss how you want to go forward with taking the results of the plan and prioritizing them, actioning them, evaluating them. So let me turn it over to council. My suggestion, thank you, Craig.
I'm happy to start. Maybe I take too simplistic of a view on this, but I feel like our priorities have already been identified in the town hall meetings and by the advisory committee by residents. So, once we've tackled those priorities, I'm happy to move down the list. Me personally, I'm not comfortable starting on, picking a priority number 17 or 18 when we've had a clear kind of mandate from residents in the advisory committee of what the top 5 ought to be. And that would be, where I would prefer that we start.
It also might be good just to have an understanding as we go through the priorities of the complexity of each one and kind of the time frame, and so that we can, have the right mix going forward. So, there may be some that would be easy, low cost, whatever, and kind of look at them that way, so that we don't, say, for example, end up with, so that we really understand where we're going and what and when the end result, would be accomplished.
Okay.
And several of these, looking at the priority list, I mean, several can be combined. If you look in the top 7, protect, preserve and Chagrin River Valley natural environment, protect scenic views, preserve, protect, increase the tree canopy. So, I mean, those are all big and probably long-term kind of objectives. But again, they probably could be combined into a couple of initiatives that maybe a group on council along with citizens could embark on.
I think there is a lot of detail in there we have to look at. I agree the priorities we've looked at that, and there's no reason not to follow those priorities, but there are a lot of details in that, and I think we're just going to have to go through them. I also think that there's some things that didn't get handled in the plan that were identified up front in the process by the Outside Perspectives Committee. But for one reason or another, they never got covered. And I think we ought to think about whether we want to cover those issues or not.
Well, I know in looking at some of them, my first thought was, and I think Michael's right about there's more details, that improve electric service. The first thought is, well, what can we do? It's First Energy's job. But as I think about the outages that we had and this past last week, I know the tree that came down on Battles was decidedly dead, and there is probably something we could do there. I know that Craig had a ordinance November, I think, on the trees, and that if we might not be able to improve the service, but we might be able, by strategically getting some of these dead trees out here, to stop it from going out as much. And that might be something that we can do. So each one of these, improve cell internet service. So we have the broadband committee. I think Gilmore's supposed to be getting that tower up and operational. It's underway. Each one of these, we get to figure out what our approach could be. What do we?
So who do we want to figure out that? Do you all want to have a workshop that someone facilitates where we slug through these? Picking the top 5 or the top 7 or picking an area like tree canopy? Do you want the administration, me and the staff, to put together our view and give them to you for comment? Does somebody on this group here want to share that or participate in that? Everything you say is great. It's how and who and when. So
I think it would be good definitely to hear from staff because, you know, they have a lot of detailed knowledge around some of these topics. And then, you know, and then I would, to Scott's point, define the scope of each of them. And I would think a workshop would be a good way to get that part done, because I think you need that as a first step.
Okay.
So we're agreeing on the workshop, right?
It's open for conversation. What do you think of that?
I'm fine with the workshop.
Yep. Okay.
I'm not sure whether it needs to be facilitated or not.
Well, it'll be facilitated by somebody. It might be me, but
I'd kind
we
of
need
be
to have
inclined
some
to try
structure.
without and if we need a facilitator, then we go to that. But I think we probably could do it without.
Okay. David?
Yeah, in my view, the most important priority, and I think the villagers agree with this, is preserving the natural environment we have here. And the village can't proceed, I don't think, alone, unless it has 2 other things. One is total cooperation with the Land Conservancy, because we're both basically pursuing the same objective, keeping this place beautiful. And we have very little expertise, so we need third-party expertise. Maybe we've got it in the village, I don't know. But I think we do need people who understand what they're talking about. We all care about the environment, but we don't know much about how to do it. I certainly don't. I'm a scientist by training, a businessman by profession, and I would love to participate, but I realize we need a lot of expertise that I don't think we have easy access to. And I think cooperation between the village and the Land Conservancy is absolutely crucial. That's why I raised the point earlier about the membership of the Land Conservancy Board and the mayoral appointments.
Okay.
So to me, that's the top priority. People always say safety is very important, and I think there are things on safety we could do, perhaps more than what we're doing now. But the environmental protection, the preserving the natural environment we have, to me, seems to be the fundamental nucleus of this comprehensive plan priorities.
Okay. Ed, any comments?
I agree with David that Land Conservancy is top priority, I feel, for us to reestablish our relationship with them and the village to equalize it.
Good. Well, you'll be pleased to hear then that Sandra and David, I've asked them both to work together with me and with Nat to put together a working plan whereby the Land Conservancy and the village would have, call it a common document that we'd work forward from. They would focus, I mean, there are items that we can't do as a village. We can't, for example, maintain their properties, but there are items that we can do and items that we can spend our share of the levy proceeds on. They are of the same ilk. So we would like to put together with the Land Conservancy, call it a game plan that both parties could work off the same sheet with clear separation on what we would do and areas where we can combine. Sandra, David, I, and Nat, I think, are meeting with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources sometime in the next week or two to get a hold of their arborists and see what they can provide in terms of expertise. The Metro Parks also last year, I think, offered an individual. I don't have the details on that. Karen would. We can get them from her. But I think the trees and the items that you related to are things that are in the comprehensive plan, and we can get started on those now. And perhaps this little committee that we've just formed, the 3 of us, so to speak, and a few others, might be kind of a pilot on how we go forward evaluating some of the other recommendations.
Excellent.
And I do hope that whatever we come up with in this particular item will influence how the Land Conservancy puts its strategy together. I mean, there's no point them working on a strategy alone, separate from the village, if it doesn't all fit together on behalf of the
Right.
entire village. So I'm pleased that they're coming in later this year to talk about their strategy, by which time we may have found some ways of integrating the effort and making sure we're on the same page.
I've had 2 or 3 good conversations with Nat. I think we are probably closer together than most people think.
Good.
I think the whole thing with the levy 2 years ago created a black and a white that doesn't exist, as black and white as you might think. There's a common purpose and a pretty good common set of objectives.
Steve,
Scott?
On the tree thing, I know, David, we're talking about expertise. I know the Conservancy is working to getting the Forestry Division to get information from them, from ODNR. One thing I wouldn't overlook is our service department guys. Some of them have an awful lot of knowledge about
Right.
trees and how to deal with them and which trees need to be dealt with to help improve our electric service. Probably sit down with them and go through a list and they'd say, yeah, this tree, this tree, this tree. We need to work with the residents. They're outside the right of way, but if we can get rid of those,
Right.
it would be helpful. So we do have the availability of some good experts right here.
We do have other village organizations that I think would want to participate in this as well. The Arboretum is another area where we could spend some time working, sorting through which trees are healthy, which ones are not, which ones are invasive, things like that. There's a lot of departments we can involve. So everyone's welcome. Yeah, Lori.
yeah, and just to follow on, I think if we do a workshop, we absolutely need their expertise and them to participate and collaborate with us on these projects.
Okay. Great. Okay, so we're gonna go forward with a workshop type event that we in the administration will take a stab at creating a document or a listing to work off of. And we'll invite council. We'll probably pick a topic or 2, maybe it's trees. Since we just started that already, we're not gonna, the comprehensive plan is everything from activities to senior citizen activities to zoning to safety to broadband. We can't boil all that in a
And
workshop.
that'll be open to the public as well, I presume.
Yeah, I think so. And we'll pick an area or 2 and we'll start with that. Okay? All right. The other item I wanted some comment on is the role of the position of council president pro tem. I think in the last number of years, first of all, the position is explained in the charter of the village. The president of council is also the mayor. When the president of council or the mayor is not available, then the president pro tem sits in for that purpose. And that's defined in the charter. And it describes his or her role as simply that, the role of the mayor when the mayor can't do his job. And what's happened, I think, over the last number of years, we've had all these different committees and a lot of different initiatives. And a lot of committees have done things, perhaps at the request of the mayor, perhaps under their own volition, all well intended. And even the role of the council president pro tem became somewhat expanded to be more than what I just described it to be. So I wanted to be clear with council. I see that role that was broader as being now narrower, that it should be all responsibilities of the mayor when the mayor can't do the job. And we don't need to cherry pick which ones those are, chairman of this committee, president of that committee, et cetera. I think the person or persons that fill that spot should be one that knows the village quite well. This essentially would be someone to whom the operating departments to my right here would all report to if the mayor couldn't do the job for whatever reason. And so someone with experience in operating the village, working with the village department heads, understanding how the place works, et cetera, is probably the most important qualification as opposed to tenure or CEO experience or lawyerly or financial expertise. It's someone that can understand the village and run it until the mayor can get back and do the job. So I would like to, I just wanted to raise that. I see the president pro tem as being again, a more narrow position than what it maybe has morphed to in the past, a critical position if the mayor can't do his job, but not one where that person essentially is operating every month as kind of an assistant mayor or a junior mayor. We are clear on who those roles are, and I would just like to stay with what's in the charter. I think frankly, that would clean up some of the confusion that we've had around this table and around the village as to why are certain people doing certain things. So I'll leave it with that. If you have comments on that position, I'd love to have that conversation. Michael?
I got a question. I was told some years ago that there was a tradition that the senior member of council would be the president pro tem. Is that true or is that not true? I don't know.
You know, I'll go back to my time in the nineties. That generally was true. Usually the most senior person, oftentimes, because it was assumed that person was the most in touch or knew the most about the culture, was given that spot. But I don't have any real basis for, we'd have to go back and do some research to answer your question.
It wasn't always the case.
Pardon me?
It wasn't always the case.
Wasn't always the case.
No.
Okay, thank you, Sandra. David?
Yeah, I've always been concerned before I was on council and since I was on council as to how the agenda emerges. And I think one of the things that Chip was trying to do last year, he didn't get to complete it, was having a process for asking council people and anybody else what they thought ought to be on the agenda. I mean, I got the agenda for this meeting on Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, and I have no idea where it came from or who thought of it or what. And I felt I had no input to it whatsoever. So I was thinking that the pro tem would be a good person to coordinate with council proposals for you to consider putting onto the agenda. Saves you some time, and it will give us a point of focus, because 7 of us talking to each other is very clumsy.
Right.
One person talking to each of the 7 of us, and then putting that together in a proposal to you on a monthly basis, to me would make sense.
Okay.
So I think there are little incremental jobs we could consider. I think you ought to be thinking very carefully about how we're going to restructure these committees. And I'd have thought my view of the pro tem, that person would be important in that process, as would you, of course. But I don't know how we're going to do that because we have 24 committees. We have 150 people on those committees. And it's a bit of a mess and it needs to be simplified. And as you said,
We have a lot of involved citizens.
well, that some are, some aren't. Some
Right.
committees, the people on the committee never show up, so they're not involved. They say they are, but they're not.
Yeah.
So I think it needs to be smartened up a good deal. And I was thinking that the pro tem could help in that process too.
Okay.
It's not a political job at all.
Right, right.
It's an organizational job.
Okay. Sandra, Ed, any comments on?
On that, I agree with the, with the charter, that it is a role that's limited to serving in the absence of the council president. But historically, there's always been a working relationship between the mayor and the council president pro tem. I guess personally, I view the role as someone who takes their authority or guidance from the council, as opposed to the mayor, who's the president of council and is elected by the villagers. The council president pro tem is elected by the council. And so things that perhaps, like David recommended or suggested, or other things that council members might ask a pro tem to do,
So that it's-
enhancing communications where possible, contributing your own background experience at council meetings. But
So that
and
it's,
I agree with the
is it
more
a check-
limited role.
is it a check and balance kind of thing you're proposing?
I guess the difference for me is kind of the accountability being ultimately to the village, but in this role accountable to the council.
Ed?
Way I understand it is when Mayor Marston, in fact, my mother-in-law was on that board that created our charter. The mayor basically had all the power. All the employees report to you, and the council pro tem was just for meetings. But as you say, over the years, everybody's tried to pick up some of this responsibility. But as for you, you're the only one that can report committees, the way I read it. And, you know, the police are allowed 12 policemen, you know, this type of thing is all spelled out in there and it's never been changed. And and I don't know if there's any reason to change it. It seems to work well. So I think a lot of people have assumed some of your responsibilities in error and that you have the right to delegate all of that. That's my understanding.
Okay, thank you.
You know, I'll just make a few comments on this. I think a lot of this boils down to where the rubber meets the road on a lot of things in terms of getting things done and getting work done. And I think historically, the President Pro Tem has helped to shepherd maybe some committees and some work that needs to be done, realizing, you know, the mayor is busy doing things and other things. And I'm not saying that things have been delegated, but I certainly view it as more of a leadership role within individuals of council, not necessarily the body of council itself, but the individuals that make up council. But I just look at the amount of work, having been on council now for 3 years, that needs to get done. And so I have kind of looked at, you know, some of the things that Chip tried to institute was maybe somewhat of a relief valve for, you know, the prior administration to kind of help do some things that may not have been top 2, 3, 4, 5 on the priority list and try to kind of spread some work around. So I don't, I stick to what the charter says. I mean, I certainly agree with that, but also I feel like there's got to be, at least historically, there was one person that the mayor went to on council to kind of help move things along versus having to make 7 phone calls and remember who was responsible for what.
Okay.
So managing the agenda, that's an interesting point, because I know you said earlier that it would be good to flush out things more, say, on committee reports and have a little more of an organized schedule. And it might be helpful to have someone on council, you know, kind of working, talking to other council members and helping to pull that together. And so we can also kind of be prepared and we can get on a schedule of, oh, this is my, you know, month for my committee report, and it just might help move things along. Just something I hadn't thought about it. I think it's a really good idea. But, you know, going back to the charter, I mean, the charter does say that the pro tem is a stand-in. But having said that, there are other things that you could ask the council pro tem to do. And because they are kind of representing us, I like the balance of powers concept. It certainly managing the agenda makes sense to help with that. And obviously work with you, Janet, whomever.
Okay.
I don't
Thank you.
I don't think the charter is meant to limit the pro tem job. It's just, it's supposed to be the minimum definition of what the job is.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume council could make it do whatever it wanted it to, if the
Sure.
person wanted
Yep.
to do it and there were good ideas. So I'm looking at it, the person you just talked about as being a council member helping on the agenda, I would have said that should be pro tem, the pro tem doing it. Whoever it is, doesn't matter
Yep.
who it is, as
Okay.
long as that person is the point person.
Yeah, and it's
You know-
always helpful to have just clarification too, roles and responsibilities, right? Just, you know,
That's
write
why
it
we're
out.
talking about it today.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, but we
Well,
clearly have to get our heads around what we want
Yes.
before we figure out who we want to do it, right?
And given the year in prospect, I mean, this year is going to be very different from previous years. We've got so many things we're going to have to do.
Yep.
And I see the need for the job to be as broad as Chip imagined it, but not as broad as he delivered.
Okay.
There, Janet added a handout for us that actually Craig requested of housekeeping and annual legislation schedule to help us kind of anticipate what's coming up each month. And, you know, as we're talking, and you even said this, Steve, you know, adding to that when a committee might be expected to make a report or what the issues are that we need, you know, that we need to address in a given month, I think is a good way to begin to kind of get more input from the, from the council. There was another comment that actually Todd made the other day. You've been quiet, Todd. We gotta get you involved about a meeting. What did you call it? A committee of the whole, where WHOLE. Where where council has an opportunity, and I don't know if it'd be by Zoom or in person, I'm not suggesting another meeting, but where there's an opportunity to discuss some of the issues that are going to come up on the agenda, so that people, again, have an opportunity to kind of kick some ideas around. So, and maybe that's something we think about or explore, or visit another community that has a meeting of the whole, just to see how that operates. And, if that kind of helps us get our arms around some of these issues and feel more prepared.
Well, Sandra and Janet, this is very helpful. It's starting to look a little like Nat's calendar of events.
Yeah.
And Conservancy, which was really helpful this year. But I don't know, I think I heard our brand new mayor say he was gonna look at the committees and he was gonna address them and clean them up. And certainly Chip did a lot, and there is a lot to do. I think we gotta give our new mayor a chance here, and let's see. It's a narrow role, and I think we gotta see how it goes.
He's asked for our advice. That's what we do. That's what we're doing.
I have a lot of confidence.
Well,
so-
thank you. So let me do this. First of all, I appreciate the conversation. These are actually what I was hoping we would have as discussion, go around the table, and if you're comfortable sharing thoughts, so on. I can, Janet's taken notes, and as has Beth, and we can try to put together a short document that maybe describes that. Some of these items that were mentioned by whomever, helping shape the agenda, being a council person that other council people could help speak to, maybe take on a couple tasks if there's some extra heavy lifting to do. I'm open to all that. So if you want, I can try to put that on paper and have that out to you.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've got a question from a governance standpoint.
Yeah.
So, we effectively right now don't have a president pro tem.
It's correct.
And so I don't know that I'm comfortable going in another month or going to February or the March meeting.
Why don't we?
Just from a
why don't
governance.
We rotate month to month until we get it resolved.
Well, that's certainly an option. I just don't know from a governance standpoint that I'm comfortable.
I
If something happens
agree.
to
Somebody
Steve,
needs to cover the responsibility, because you never know when something will happen. You'll need one.
On a contingency basis. That's right.
Okay, then I'll, can't do that. That's a good point. So is there a motion?
and I'll make,
Someone,
I'll make a motion and nominate Sandra as president pro tem.
okay? Is there a second to that? Okay, are there any, hold on, are there any other nominations? Okay,
I guess I'm confused. I thought we were going to work on this some more, and you were going to prepare a paper defining what the job is, and then we were going to debate that. So it seems to me we were putting the cart in front of the horse to elect somebody today.
well, I think
That's why I
I think
suggested
that,
the rotational approach until we do that.
Let's do a pro tem. Appoint her for a month or two or
But
three.
practically speaking, we need someone in the role at this point. And then I think once we get the roles and responsibilities, Sandra, if it's not something you want to do,
That's
or
fine. If it's a month or 2 months, whatever, until we get it resolved. Yep.
then I assume you'd be flexible and
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
well, but from a governance standpoint, we need someone. Todd clarified that we need someone. If I wasn't able to do the job,
somebody.
got a car accident tomorrow or something, someone needs to be in that role. So, I'm glad for the conversation, and, I think the way the process works, if there's a nomination, there's a second, and there are no other nominations, then we can have further discussion, but eventually we'll vote on this. So is there any further discussion?
Does the salary go with the mayor's job? With the pro tem job?
Multiply by 10.
Thank you.
Okay, let's call the roll.
Eton,
Yes.
Broom. I have a question.
Well, are we voting on a permanent or a rotational?
The motion that's on the floor is permanent until council would change that, which they could do next month. if council decides.
Until council would,
They can, but it will be awkward.
Could be.
So the motion is as just described.
My vote is still yes.
yes.
Deacon.
Yeah.
Press.
I'm a no, because I'd like to define the job first before we decide who to put in it. No, with all due respect to Sandra.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes,
Welsh.
Yes.
Okay, and we will go ahead and we will still do that for sure. It's not gonna stop that.
Yes. Something.
Okay?
Quick question, Steve.
Yes.
You very skillfully tonight avoided discussing the treasurer position.
Oh
Uh,
no, we're not done.
Oh, we're not? Well, where's that? It's not on your agenda.
You know, but Steve, on a
Yeah.
separate topic, it might not be a bad idea to have a 1 or 2 meetings a year where council listens to what the residents think and what they might want done.
That was part of the plan. That was very clear in the comprehensive plan. Very important.
We're not accomplishing that when we have the business from the audience, you mean?
Oh, no,
Did I miss something?
it would be a real town hall
Oh, a town hall.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
or two. whatever.
Okay, so the motion passed?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll
so
swear Sandra in
thank
shortly.
you, and I will serve as your representative, as your servant until till the time when you decide that. That wasn't very elegant, but thank you for your support, and I will do a good job to serve you honorably.
We'll have business from the audience in a minute. David, answer your question. I'm looking at the finance committee and the budget committee roles, and I am talking to 2 or 3 people. And we will have a recommendation for this group by the next meeting. I've talked to several council people as well in terms of what could be the role of the treasurer beyond what is in the charter, which is pretty narrow. At the same time, we don't want it so broad that we create confusion as to what the role should be. Okay,
So as a matter of governance, who is the treasurer today? You?
I am.
Okay. So having the mayor and the treasurer be the same person,
It sounds like
that's a
conflict.
governance problem.
Well, we're going to have that problem fixed in about 30 days. So, okay,
If people are comfortable with that, that's fine.
okay. Anyone uncomfortable with that?
As long as we're earnestly going to change it soon, I'm okay with it.
Okay, thank you, David. Any other issues or items from council?
Just one, and Chris, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but the roads program. There was a note in the minutes, I think, and we talked in last month about having something like in February or March for approval. I just wanted to see if we were on, sorry to put you on the spot.
Never a problem. Dave and I have discussed actually splitting the road program into 2 pieces historically. Moving forward, historically, what we've done is we've had one road program that involved all of our maintenance work and all of our whole road repaving, which typically led to that program being advertised in the middle of the year and then running construction-wise till late in the year. Because our county road maintenance and our local road maintenance is something that does not require a tremendous amount of design. What our intention is to ask for authorization to bid the maintenance part of the contract next month. And then the whole road repaving, anything that's undertaken, that would follow a design process when those plans are ready. We will report out in more detail likely next month that we've met with Geauga County and Chesterland about repaving County Line Road this year because Chester and Jug County received some grant money to do their half of the road, and it does not make much sense for them to do their half of the road and for us to do nothing. So some of the road program budget is very likely for our whole road repaving going to be dedicated towards doing the entire length, 4+ miles of our half of County Line Road. So, but short version is maintenance contract will be advertised early in the year, and then the whole road repaving would be middle of the year, which would then shorten the timeline to get the reimbursement from Cuyahoga County, which is always an issue at the end of the year, and help to even out how the money flows to the village as it relates to the road program.
Thanks.
I had one
Oh,
one
sorry.
other item. And this is kind of in the interest of anticipating a topic to talk about at the next council meeting. But going back a couple of months, probably till October or November, we talked as part of the roads program about a bike path along Gates Mills Boulevard. So Chris Courtney has provided some information to the chief of police and to the service director and to me about, about that process and what's involved and the details with regard to striping and what that would do to traffic down Gates Mills Boulevard, kind of hopefully designating it as one lane instead of the confusion about is it one or two or whatever. So what I will do is with them, get some information to you in the middle of the month. Ask for it to be on the agenda for February, but you'd have some additional time to take a look at it before we meet to discuss it. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Is there any business from the audience?
Right on.
So going forward, what we're going to do is we're going to ask the people from the audience to state their name, but not their street address. We're concerned just about privacy and things, and some of the seminars that we've attended talk about how with people's voices now being able to be captured, we essentially would be capturing someone could capture someone's voice, street address, and name, and use that in a nefarious way. So just your name, and we trust that you're a village resident. If you're not, state yourself as a non-resident.
I know he is.
Well, we know him, but just as a protocol going forward.
Terrific. Good evening. My name is Sean O'Hagan and I am a village resident. I've got two things. First, thank you for taking up the spirit of the comprehensive plan. There is a lot of energy and thought and ideas from so many village residents that are reflected in that work product. And it is so exciting to hear all of you describing and discussing and wrestling with how you want to take good spirited steps forward to engage with that plan and let it influence your work. As you do that, just a couple of things, as you look at that list of priorities, it's really great to consider what the advisory committee and what the members of the town hall meetings prioritized. But as you engage with that yourself too, as you start to think about how to execute on this plan, please keep in mind, like the natural reactions are to think about what are like the quick wins? What can we do with all of the business of running the village? What do we even have time to do, right? And so you're going to look for those things. But, please also look for what are the things that are of an important magnitude that, they're going to be work. It's going to take time to do. And don't just completely discard those. Broadband's a great example. That is in there. That's been a big effort and it is going to continue to be a big effort. So, engage with that with your whole selves and an open-mindedness towards how you're going to do it. I am so happy that folks talked about including the staff. When I've always thought about comprehensive plans in other communities I've been a part of, the staff can use that comprehensive plan too. It's a 10-year plan, And it's something that hopefully is there to guide the long-range thinking, but also the incremental daily decisions that folks make. And so, you know, the administration and the staff are a very important part about how the village will be able to take steps forward along the plan. And finally, with regards to the plan, it is a 10-year plan, so we need to have a habit as we're thinking of the calendar. We should have a habit of kind of coming back to it. We're going to get busy with the actions of executing on the plan. We should have a habit of coming back to it. In the public realm, there's a lot of good ideas that get communicated at the wrong time, right? You know, opportunities come up for different reasons. And so we should, I don't know if it's annually, but with some sort of regularity, come back and think about the plan, not just with the committees that we create to do this work, but to come back and say, you know, 12 months, 24 months from now, how might we see an opportunity that we didn't see 12 months ago?
Okay.
So that's it on the plan. So thank you for that. And then finally, I was really excited to hear about the Gates Mills Boulevard. That would be really terrific. And just another just gentle reminder that would be great during the 2024 to be able to proceed with the sidewalk extension along River Road. That's it. Thank you.
Sidewalk extension, we have applied to the state of Ohio for a portion of that funding. We and every municipality in the state is competing for the last of the ARPA dollars. We've got our requests in. Have no idea of what odds we have on that. But we have raised half of that money to the county funds that we've received. We need the other half from somewhere else or from our own fund. So thank you, Sean.
It'd be great before we have, you know, a couple hundred kids going up and down that stretch of road during the summer.
Well,
have
I
them
gotta,
on
just
the
to be honest,
sidewalk.
I don't think it'll happen by the summer, because that includes, even if the money came tomorrow, the engineering work that's required, including building a pedestrian bridge, which is a prefab bridge that would require ordering and specs, it's not gonna happen that quick. But it sure would be good to put the stake in the ground.
Yeah, fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions or comments from the audience? Sandra, would you come up so I can give you the oath of office, and then we'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting? You. Repeat after me. I, Sandra Turner,
Turner,
do hereby swear
do hereby swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Charter and ordinances of the Village of Gates Mills,
Charter and ordinances of the Village of Gates Mills,
and that I will honestly, faithfully, and impartially
faithfully and impartially
discharge my duties as Council President Pro Tem,
discharge my duties as Council President Pro Tem,
to which I have been elected
to which I've been elected
according to law and the best of my ability.
according to law and the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So much.
There's no further business. I would appreciate a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Lori and David. All those in favor?
Aye.
Ton? Broom?
Yes.
Deacon?
Yes.
Press? Steinbrink?
Yes.
Turner?
Yes, Welsh.
Yes.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you all for participating.
Hey, you guys are quick.
I'll take
Three that on battles. I have to keep it all. And a long way.
Yeah.